Time to pull up a chair. We've got another great story for you today in the R Lounge. Some people need a lot more therapy and a little less Tinder. Today in the R Lounge, chin up. There are plenty more fish in the sea, hopefully with a lot less emotional baggage and a lot more honesty. Buckle up. I, 33 female, started dating Harvey, 35 male, back in August of last year. We met on a dating app. What caught my attention at first was how articulate he was. He was so intelligent. There was just something about the way he spoke. And he listened to me. He listened to what I said. He seemed genuinely interested in what was coming out of my mouth, and he asked me questions. He asked me questions about my life, and about my likes and dislikes, and my passions, and where I saw myself in 5 years. He asked hard questions, and we got really deep really fast. And what I mean by that is that there wasn't any beating around the bush. We were upfront and honest right at the start. He said he wasn't interested in just dating someone just to date someone and waste anybody's time. He said he was looking for his forever. I saw all of this as green flags. I had some bad relationships in the past, and I definitely had a type. I was into guys who treated me like crap and love-bombed me and manipulated me and then treated me like trash. A little context about how I was going into this relationship with Harvey and some past trauma. About 10 years ago, I had been engaged before to someone who was originally from a different country. He wanted to get married so that he could essentially stay in the country. We met while I was on some volunteer work in South America, and I totally fell head over heels. He actually had a girlfriend at the time that we met, and he said that they ended up breaking it off, but they never did. He came back home with me. I ended up getting pregnant, but having a miscarriage. He lived with me and was taking my money and sending it back home to that girlfriend he said he broke it off with. It turns out he actually had 3 kids with her already. Well, I ended up finding out, and by the time I found out, he ended up owing me $30,000. Not only that, but he emotionally and physically abused me, which led to the miscarriage. But I truly believe everything happens for a reason, and it was a blessing that never worked out. Then there was a boy that I had grown up with in my hometown. He treated me like absolute garbage, and he ended up actually going to prison. Anyways, these are all stories for another time. So that's all to say that I've been burned. And so with Harvey being so kind and honest right from the start, it just screamed, green means go, to me. I had never met anyone like him before. He was really good at communicating. If I ever had any doubts about anything, he'd say, no, we're talking it out, and we're not going to bed angry. He'd call me or text me every day. He forced me to work on my own darkness. He forced me to talk it out instead of going inwards and hiding. I was happy. I felt like things were really good. And he was really helping me upgrade in life and be the best version of me. Well, in October, I had noticed that he still had the dating app on his phone because I saw notifications pop up while we were watching a movie, and his phone was on the coffee table. This was after we had agreed on going exclusive. He tried to play it off that he just never actually deleted it, and he apologized and deleted it right in front of me. So I bought it. But I ended up bringing it up a week later, and we got into a big discussion on how this won't work if I don't trust him. He gaslit me. He made me believe that all was okay and that my own insecurities were just projecting onto him, and that wasn't fair. It was basically a diss on me conversation, but I still bought it. At the time, it felt liberating, and what he was saying made sense to me. Then in December, we were planning on going to Las Vegas for New Year's Eve. Well, a couple of weeks before, he cancels on me and tells me that he's not feeling well. We got into a huge fight, and then he dropped this ball on me that he said he had an autoimmune disorder that caused his skin to break out into a big red rash, and his skin was all inflamed. He also said that when this happened, his body was so sore he could hardly walk and could hardly eat, sleep, you name it. He wouldn't even let me come and see him during this time. He just took photos to sort of prove that he was telling the truth. He said he didn't have the energy to see anybody. At this time, he also said he would be working from home. Anyways, so I let the Las Vegas thing slide. Luckily, we were able to cancel the flights, but instead of a refund, we ended up getting a credit. This will come into play later. So I let that slide. And then there were quite a few times in January through March where we had planned a date and he would bail on me the night before or the day of. He'd say he wasn't feeling well. He'd blame it on his autoimmune disorder. He said he had planned this beautiful Valentine's Day date for me. There's these botanical gardens that you can go to, and they offer moonlit dinner. But come the day of, I was supposed to be picked up at 6 p.m. And at 4:30, he said he wasn't coming because he wasn't feeling well and needed to rest. He said he'd make it up to me later that week. He didn't want to see me at all. Well, later that week, on the day that he had rescheduled, he was supposed to pick me up at 6 p.m. And around 3, he texted and said that something came up at work that he wouldn't be able to see me. Then we got into a fight about how he wasn't prioritizing our relationship. Then it brings up that he was too ashamed to admit that he couldn't pay for the date and didn't want me to be paying for anything because he's been so sick and has missed too much work. He said that something actually did come up at work with one of his clients, and he said that he couldn't pass on this opportunity or else he'd lose his job. He said if he didn't do the work tonight that it would have severe repercussions. And I was like, I can just come over and we can watch a movie or something while you work. And he said that it doesn't work that way. He said also he was too embarrassed to see me, and again, he said he'd make it up to me. He said once this contract was done, he was going to take me out for dinner. And I said, we don't even have to go out. We can eat in and have a date inside. He's like, you deserve that best. And I can't do that for you right now. And so I was like, are we breaking up then? And he said, no, God, no. I just need to finish this job. And then I'll be back in good graces with my clients and my boss. I was like, okay. So then at the beginning of April, it was my birthday, and he had planned to take me out. Well, you guessed it. My birthday came, and I actually didn't hear from him all day until about 4 p.m. He calls me and he says, happy birthday. And he's acting all nice, and then suddenly drops this bomb that his skin has flared up, so he doesn't want to go out. He apologizes and said that we can eat in at his place. I was so eager to see him that day that I just agreed and went over. Well, he complained that his whole body was so inflamed that he wasn't even going to be able to eat. And yeah, he looked red. His skin didn't look great, but I didn't want to eat by myself. It made me feel like crap. Then I kind of had expected him to be huggy and intimate with me, and maybe even get some, if you know what I mean. Nope, nothing. He sat on one end of the couch, and I sat on the other. And we watched some stupid movie. I got pissed off, and I said, why am I even here? And he's like, it's your birthday. I wanted to see you on your birthday. I'm sorry, I can't make it special, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, you haven't even touched me. I haven't even gotten a hug. And like I was sort of expecting to be intimate with you tonight since it's my birthday. Then he says, it hurts to move. He said he would kiss me if he could, but it would hurt too bad. And I'm like, really? It would hurt your lips to just keep them there? And then he got mad at me for not understanding. And then he said that he doesn't want to be intimate with me because his skin condition even affects his downstairs. And I was like, yeah, whatever. So I get up to leave. And then he stops me and brings me this gift bag. And he's like, wait, just open this. So I open it all pissed off, and it was tickets to Hawaii for the end of April. And then we do end up kissing and making up, but for like 5 minutes because he said that's all he could handle. So I'm like, Harvey, you have to be serious about going to Hawaii, because if you bail on me, I'm still going without you and we're over. The moment you text or call me to bail will be the last time you hear from me. And he goes, yeah, that won't happen. This is what I've been waiting to give back to you. You deserve the world. I'm so sorry I can't be what you want and what you need, blah, blah. So I'm like, no, I'm serious. If you bail, I'm going and we're over. And he's like, hey, deal. So literally, the 5 days before we're supposed to go to the airport and leave for Hawaii, he texts me and he's like, I'm so sorry. Please don't hate me, blah, blah. Don't leave me. I'm just not feeling well. I can't go in the state that I'm in. My skin is on fire. I'm so sorry to text you like this, but it just hurts to move my mouth and hurts to speak. He's like, I lost my job. I probably have to move in with my dad. I feel like dump. I'm so sorry. Well, I text him back and I'm like, I'm going anyways, and this is the last time you'll hear from me. We're done. And I mean it. I was like, don't try to contact me. Don't text me. Don't call me. And I spent 15 hours on hold with the airline we booked to switch over the ticket to my best friend Sienna. So then I end up blocking him because he won't stop contacting me. I went to Hawaii with my bestie and I spent the first few days and the whole flight crying. Then I get this text from a number I don't recognize. It ends up being Harvey. He's like, I know you asked me not to contact you, but I'm just so sorry, and you mean the world to me, and gives me this huge sob story. He's like, when you come back, things are going to be different. Well, I bought into it. I felt lonely. I was in a paradise, and I missed him. I even ended up getting him a little souvenir. I know, I'm weak. Anyways, I end up getting home, and he comes over, and his face and skin look totally fine, as if he had made his flare-up all up. Anyways, I chose not to say anything. I gave him his souvenir. We have a big long talk about how he's not going to let this disorder get in the way of us. And then he tries to insinuate that he doesn't want to go and live with his dad and he doesn't know where he's going to stay. And he's suggesting that one chair would look good in my living room and how my place is so cozy and inviting. But I'm not budging. I'm just like, I like my stuff where it is. and he tries to rub my leg and start something up, and I'm pushing his hand away, and I get up to make a tea, and he's asking me if everything is okay. I'm like, yeah, I'm just hurt. And he's like, you're going to let me live on the street? And then I'm like, whoa, where did this come from? And he's like, well, you aren't saying anything. You haven't even asked where I plan on staying. And I'm like, you told me before I left on a trip that we were supposed to be on together, that you had planned on living with your father. And he said, I can't go back and live with my dad. I'll lose my mind. And I'm like, well, you can't stay here. I understand that your autoimmune disorder makes it hard to do daily activities and to work sometimes, but that's not my responsibility. You're so flaky. Why would I want to live with someone who is as flaky as you? And then he gets up and walks over to me, and he's like, this disorder is out of my control. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, why are you blaming me? Why can't you help me out here? And I'm like, you need to help yourself. You constantly bail on me. I can't trust you to pay bills or clean up after yourself in my space. I own this house. It just comes down to the fact that I can't trust you. And then he starts calling me names and crying and saying that I'm making him homeless. And he's got a dog and he doesn't know what he's going to do with his dog. And then I'm like, this really is not my problem and not my responsibility. Then I tell him to get out of my house, and he's literally sobbing and hyperventilating. And he keeps calling me all night. Sends me about 200 text messages. I end up blocking him again. But he ends up calling and texting me from different numbers, and some of them are unknown, so I just turn off my phone. Well, the next day, I'm at work. I'm a receptionist, and he comes into work right at 9 a.m. when the office is open to the public, and he has a pair of scissors in his hand, and he's holding them up to his neck, and he's crying and screaming, and he falls to the floor right in front of my desk, and he's saying things like, I'll end it right here in front of you, and for all the world to see. I call the police, and they come and arrest him. Then my boss calls me into his office before the end of the day, and she lets me go. I lost my job. She says we can't have stuff like this happening here, and she said I put people in danger, and they're unfortunately going to have to let me go. Well, that job was my lifeline. I literally have no idea what I'm going to do. I'm still $20,000 in debt because of my ex-fiance. I'm pissed and honestly in shock. I never imagined anything like this could happen to me, but this guy has totally ruined my life. I wrote this huge thing about him on Don't Date Him. Now I'm here sharing this on Reddit. I'm so done. Not only that, but I got a restraining order against him. I've also had to change my number. It's been about 10 days and I haven't heard from him or anything. Thank goodness. Hopefully, he got the hint. So yeah, I have bad taste, but let this be my last lesson. Update. I got off the phone with Harvey's dad. Apparently Harvey was never paying for the place he was staying at. His dad was this whole time. And he said that Harvey doesn't have an autoimmune disorder, but he definitely does have a skin condition. He said that he had given Harvey a deadline to find a proper job, which he had also lied to me about. Apparently, he was just working really odd jobs here and there as some techie doing some sketchy crap and refused to get some serious job. He said once the deadline came and went, he cut Harvey off and wouldn't allow him to move back home and was forcing him to figure it out on his own. Very interesting. Well, dodged that bullet. Hardly. Wow. Harvey sounds like the whole red flags waving in a hurricane kind of guy. If he put half as much effort into being a decent human as he did into his elaborate excuses, he might have actually been a catch. But hey, at least he gave you a memorable birthday, right? A restraining order and a job loss? What a thoughtful gift package. Here's hoping your next date comes with a lot of less drama and a lot more sanity. Do you have a similar experience? Share with us in the comments below. Thank you for joining us today in the R Lounge. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. See you soon.